and welcome back. It's been a while, right? Welcome to the Digital Fashion Innovator Series here on LinkedIn Live. My name's Marie Bastian. I'm the host of this session, and this new era of digital fashion is just bringing together all these amazing talents from all around the globe, and we're here to share their story and to celebrate them as they evolve on their journey. And basically to inspire new digital creators coming in, but also the fashion industry at large. So every guest here is always speaking on behalf of themselves, not for the companies they work at. And if you have any questions, make sure to put them in the comments. We can bring them in on the fly, and we'd be happy to hear what you're saying while we have our conversation. So I'll do my best on that side. Good. So today we have our next guest, Shayli Harrison. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure.
So today we have another juicy topic involving fashion and gaming and bringing these two worlds together. Shayli is a fashion tech innovator with over 15 years of fashion experience and a master's degree, and she's from Antwerp fashion department, so it's not too far from me, actually. I'm based in Trier, Germany, which is, I guess, about 2 hours away from you, right?
Yeah, basically neighbors.
So quite neighbors. You've been taking on the role as a designer, creative director, product manager, a creative consultant for brands like Melissa Shoes, Empire Rose, manage Aurora and Swarovski. And with designs adoring such artists as Björk and I hope I pronounce this right, Ashniko?
Yeah. That sounds good out to me.
Very good. Yeah, and your fashion experience is complemented by 3 years of driving the creative direction of your business and digital project management at MUTANI. And I have to be careful about that because I keep pronouncing it the German way, MUTANI. Now it's MUTANI.
European instinct makes it sound very Italian.
Yeah, I like both sounds, actually. Mutiny sounds a little more elegant, so that's great. Yeah, and Mutiny is a virtual reality fashion brand bridging the online and offline identities, and we're really excited to get into the details and hear all about your fresh launch, which is just right off the bat, right?
Yeah. It was just a month ago now.
A month.
Then
A very short month, probably. So let's just get you introduced. Tell us a little bit. I mean, I gave a quick introduction of yourself, but maybe you can get a little bit more in detail how you got into digital fashion, what your first stepping stones were, what your experiences were, your impressions of this field. It'd be great to hear a little bit about that.
That old chestnut. I discovered, at the time I was Marvelous Designer. I would say back in 2013, 14, somewhere around there. Actually, I was working with a guy here, Mark Flocker, who does 3D scanning. So it was around the time that 3D scanning really came up.
Yeah.
And we were 3D scanning my collections at the Antwerp fashion department to create a virtual reality gallery, which was something that I guess no one had quite tried yet. So that's kind of my first steps into, I would say fashion tech. But he had shown me Marvelous Designer and said, you should really learn this. He gave me a few lessons. I struggled severely.
Really hard, right?
And honestly, it's so much smoother now, but at that stage, it was really
the collisions
days. So at the time, I didn't really have the time to put into fully learning the program. So, I went about my business, because I had so much to do with school, but I knew that I wanted to, because when I did the 3D scanning, it's all very static. It's like a sculpture in a way. And then if you try and animate it, it's super, sticky. So I had this vision that I wanted to have the full fantasy, that it would be moving and part of a whole world, the real I guess in-game fantasy around the pieces. So that's kind of where the goal began. And ever since then and ever since I graduated, I've been kind of building up new projects, trying to get closer towards that, like that goal of like world building and narrative building around the fashion and the fantasy of fashion, which has kind of seen me to where I am now. I'd say though that the real commitment to it really took off during the pandemic. Like I think a lot of people,
Yeah.
discovered at this time. And that was because Helsinki Fashion Week had converted the whole show into a digital fashion show, which was super cool and really pioneering at the time because they're kind of a sustainable fashion week. And they'd taken all of the designers involved, paired them with like digital creators, and together as teams, they worked out the whole collections and then showcased it live online to a really large audience and then released a report comparing, a normal fashion show to the digital fashion show to show, how sustainable it can be.
Yeah.
So
Was that the Digital Village project?
yes,
Yeah.
so that's kind of where Digital Village started. And so they were doing a second run of that, inviting a new set of designers. And so I decided to take the leap, and I built a whole team around it. There was 12 of us working on this animation. Unfortunately, it never came through because actually Evelyn, who pioneered the whole endeavor, went on to create, Digital Village into a metaverse at that time. So it was that kind of like first forays into the metaverse. So that was also when I learned, it was through her that I learned about blockchain and all of that, because obviously she wanted to create her virtual space on chain, and that it would be tokenized and that there would be like an NFT trade. And I mean, that was such a huge idea at the time. And if you look at what Village now, I don't know how to pronounce it, but Village is doing now, it's incredible. So that's kind of where I entered. But it's also how I came to understand the potential, and also I guess the different pipelines involved in building out I guess digital fashion experiences. Because from there I went to, going from producing animated content to, working with collaborators on augmented reality experiences, as well as like the hologram shows for Future Front Row.
Also a huge milestone in our industry. That was like that created such amazing waves all over the place. It was like I remember a lot of people saying how emotional that experience was. It was something very, very different, even though it's just digital holographic. You guys did a beautiful job there.
Yeah, and that really inspired me to, I would love to, like, if I could just throw in the towel and just make like beautiful theatrical immersive hologram theater, I will die happy, because that's really like, I guess, my positions in creative direction and project management, more or less. So I like to steer the concept and steer the narrative part of what we create. So Mutiny started, I guess, I called it a network, because it was more building out different projects and bringing together different creators in the digital fashion industry, and channeling those towards different outputs or the different virtual marketplaces, different games.
Yep.
So it was really experimental. But now in the last couple of years, I pivoted the business model into something, I guess, more digital crossed with physical, which is where I'm at now.
So you're doing the full circle back to the physical thing.
Yes. I left fully into digital, then I was like, the physical I do miss. You do miss it sometimes.
But that's a nice thing. We don't have to stay in one field. I love how, like, what I take away from your story right now is that you're moving very fluidly. It's not just fashion, it's also art and experience and performance. If you think about the hologram show you guys worked on, very much I could see that like as an art dance performance in the virtual. I mean, yours was very, very dance inspired as well, right? And I love it how we as creators, especially as upcoming creators that don't have like this, let's say, this big luggage of a brand on our back and processes, which I work a lot with in my everyday life. But it's so refreshing to think about that new people coming in that don't have this baggage can move fluid, can experiment, can test new things and pivot again. And it's just it's been a joy to follow you up to here, and I'm really excited to see where this is heading. And
dang. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's like the benefit I've taken from being able to experiment and move so fluidly through these new, I guess, hype cycles as well as like new technologies coming through, is that it's allowed me to have a really like broad vision and broad scope on
yeah,
to narrow down my business model.
yeah,
Because I've kind of tried and tested so many things, which is, why I pivoted back to that digi-physical model, because, we had a couple of launches that were digi-physical, for example, with Stefan Karchev, that were really successful. And it was really because of that link. So it kind of seeded the fruits of, where I'm at now, which is we're creating elevated merchandise for gamers. Because I really had always wanted to tap into that market from the beginning, but like trying to get skins onto different gaming platforms, there's only so many open worlds you can launch skins on, and most of them kind of ugly. Yeah.
just to dip into shortly, can you define what skins are for anyone watching who's not like from the gaming industry who's coming in?
Yeah, sure. So
Like breaking down those words for everyone.
I guess like skins would be essentially clothes, whatever's the exterior on your avatar that's changeable. Um, so yeah, essentially a lot of games when you log in, there's an opportunity to customize your persona. There's a set of default skins, and certain games will have an open marketplace where creators can contribute their own skins, or they'll launch skins themselves as a publisher, and then you can choose from their curated selection. So the games that I'm talking about that are open world and have that creator marketplace, anyone can enter and anyone can create skins and anyone can sell and trade on those platforms. But like I said, a lot of those platforms do tend to be aesthetically not quite my vibe. So
I have so many topics and questions spinning around my head right now because for everyone out there, Shayli's been also hosting a few LinkedIn Lives the past days, and I don't know if there's some more coming up, but if you want to visit the other ones, definitely have a look into that, because one of the things I pulled away from your last conversation that I tuned into, you had also someone join, one of your guests joining as a player, actually, an active gamer. We need to get into that topic as well, what cosplay actually is. But before we get to that, he brought up a really good point, which I really enjoy. He said that in gaming environments where communication is also a core part, like the communication between the players, fashion just becomes a really important topic, because that's a touch point where people can connect with each other. They see the players in the game and they write them a little message or say something, and they first, just the appearance is just such a good contact point to talk about. And he also said, even if it's like a default skin, it's also a point to connect, because a default skin, so a standard clothes that you start a game with, that without individualizing it yourself. And he said that's a good point too, because you see someone new coming in, you can also connect with them. Hey, I see you're new here. I love that. That was a great insight.
Yeah, and you can definitely draw like the line between that and reality, especially in the gaming audience, because when you go to a gaming con, it really is a lot of like signaling, because generally speaking, I mean, obviously not everyone, it's a very broad audience, but it does attract, I want to say, a large section of like subcultures, outcasts. People don't necessarily feel at home in like normal circumstances. So you get this incredible diversity in that space, which I love. But it means that there are a lot of entities that do find it hard to like kind of make friends on the fly. And it's almost like wearing band t-shirt where you kind of go like, oh, I see you're into the thing I'm into, and that's like the point that you can start the conversation. So it translates across the board, and I think that's also why fashion can be such a powerful tool for creating community and forming bonds. I think it's really important, this social signaling part of it. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Very powerful tool. Yeah, people think of clothes just something functional, but it's so much more than that, actually, if you really get deep into it. So,
sorry, I wanted to say that, like, essentially, like, initially I wanted to bring skins into games, but then at a certain point I realized maybe it's more interesting to take the skins from the games into life. And that's kind of where I'm at now, doing the physical part of that social signaling. So, people are already forming those connections in those virtual worlds. And the idea is to extend that into everyday life. Traditionally, that's been done with a t-shirt or a hoodie with a print on, but I'm trying to take it to a level that it has like the fashion design element too. So it's really for everyone and catering more to, the female gamers who are like almost half, like 20%.
yeah, right.
Like, it's such a fluid.
Most standing you think of the female gamer, but they're very much out there and powerful in a huge group.
Yeah,
That's the overlook.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kind of where I'm heading now.
yeah, I mean, you were at Gamescom this year the first time, right? We didn't bump into each other there.
No.
I thought we would, but unfortunately we didn't. But that also just gave me also an impression, and you as well, of the gamer community. I mean, I remember seeing all these, these fans really dressed up and putting all the effort into sewing their own costumes to really reflect their main character that they're so, and that they love to death, probably. And I can see them like on the side behind the doors when they're, when the outfits didn't fit very well, they were taking tape.
Oh yeah, there's a few people like stroking in the corners.
Exactly. And it was just really nice. I was just standing and watching this, and I was thinking, like, I mean, they're putting all this effort into sewing these things themselves, probably not having like the proper background, which doesn't mean it's wrong. I mean, I think it's great. They should go for it. Yeah. But it just shows that the need is there, that there's a really big desire and a gap that I'm really excited to see you fill. Very nice. So let's head over to your website to show everyone actually what we're talking about when we're talking about skins or digital items. I'll just blend in your website. Here we go. And maybe you can, just give us a little take on what Mutiny is all about.
Yeah, sure. So I guess this collection we just launched is called the First Mutiny Magic. And it's a first example of a new category in gaming merchandise that we're calling all day cosplay. So, like I said, a kind of way to extend, your aspirational characters in game into your everyday life. So we started with a game called Genshin Impact. It's a hugely popular Chinese anime game. It's very like fantasy. It's very like sparkly and femme, and they have these beautiful weapons. So for this, we took this bow and arrow called the First Great Magic that you see in the first picture on the left.
Yeah.
And I essentially dissected it into 6 fashion pieces, 6 accessories that you can wear in everyday life. So we've got hair clips, we've got this necklace like I have here. Well, it's a bolo tie, ear cuffs, earrings, and each piece is connected to an exclusive augmented reality experience. And we worked with Sarah Mayer, who's an incredibly talented AR filter maker, and Field Day AI, so that we could train the smart lens on the phone to recognize the piece. So the piece itself unlocks the experience. So we can actually buy them together. Yeah. So it makes it kind of exclusive. It gives the fans exclusive access to this filter to create content on their social media. So this is a first test. For now, we're doing it with QR codes, but I would love to try in future. For example, you can embed microchips when 3D printing into the piece itself. So with an NFC chip, it could add that extra layer of like immediacy as well. And you see here in the wearable product part, we shot this on the streets of Paris in a kind of fruit style photo shoot. We shot the pieces, on a male and female model, and in a really, I guess, street style way, because the idea was to show how you can embed these more fantastical objects into your everyday style, and to really show that it's something for everyone.
Absolutely. And you know what I love about this project, why I'm really excited to have you on, besides that I'm totally fan of you. I love that you're combining all these new technologies everyone's talking about. Like there's a little bit of everything in your project. You can see on the right now how the piece is being recognized. That's AI trained model that recognizes actually the physical part and in the camera lens, right? You can correct me if I understood anything wrong. That's correct. Yeah. And then it activates the augmented reality or experience through QR code. You have the 3D visual you can see on the second picture, which is lighting up right now. So you have a nice presentation where you don't necessarily have to create the physical object first. You can, that's also part of your model, right? Digital first approach.
Yes.
So many great things coming together into one project, and then having this really beautiful, unique style. Very unique, very niche, which is always good to have. I mean, you guys did a really, really good job. And
so much.
Yeah, the sales went off the roof too, right? You guys are
yeah.
already in production mode, as I heard.
Yeah. Straight to production. So I also forgot to mention, but the filter itself is also using this new AI tooling with Lens. So the filter is also generating you into an anime character.
That's right. The face
based on the game, but it's different for every user, so it can change around your features, your hair, if you're wearing glasses, if you're wearing a hat. So it's a really nice addition, and I'm really excited to see where that goes with the AR, with AR technology now.
Extremely cool.
Yeah.
So I need to ask on this point. So we need to definitely also describe what cosplay all day is, because that's a term that you also pretty much embedded in this project.
Yeah.
I think you touched a little bit on it already. And I would love to also hear your personal connection to gaming. Have you been playing in these worlds yourself? Is that how you got into it? Or like, what's your personal background and connection to the gaming world? I'd love to hear about that as well.
Well, you can scroll down a little bit, because then I think you'll be able to easier see what I mean by all day cosplay. And you can also scroll across if you want to look at more pictures. But I guess the idea is based on a concept called the Proteus effect, which is something that I'm researching for the next 2 years with the Artesis here in Antwerp, the Royal Academy. So it's an effect where if you play enough in a game as a particular character, then you start to adopt the behavioral qualities in everyday life, which I find really interesting.
Ooh, that's very...
The other thing I find very interesting is that there have been studies on the cosplay community that demonstrate that cosplayers have stronger relationships, more friendships online and offline, and are more likely to be like gender fluid or, bi or homosexual or just queer in general. So I just find like that there are many positive, I would call those very positive benefits to cosplay. And it's because there's this like identity tourism at play. That you get
like that term, identity tourism.
Yeah, you get to kind of experiment with becoming different personas and having different energies and interacting with people in a different way. So it's a kind of safe place a lot of people use to explore who they are. and then bring those elements into their everyday life. So my theory is that if I can extend this feeling of cosplay, this connection between yourself and the character you love, because generally speaking, players tend to adopt characters with qualities they see in themselves or similar visual likenesses, or just, yeah, there's some attachments there to who you want to be or who you are, that we can extend those benefits and extend those qualities into our everyday lives. At the same time, being able to socially signal to other fans in a way that's not screaming, I'm a hardcore gamer. It's,
Like a World of Warcraft t-shirt.
yeah. And it means that it should be like a nice enough piece too, that even if you're not a gamer, you can still appreciate it and you can still wear it and want it, you know? So that's really the idea that I've come to with all day cosplay. And when I, chatted with different cosplayers and gamers at Gamescom, the reception we got was really, really positive. Especially for the fact that there is this kind of gap in the market for, like I said, the female, the LGBTQI, like the diversity in gaming. It's not quite being met in the merchandise sector.
Yeah.
So there was this like, oh my God, why hasn't this like happened yet? And you start to see it come through in a couple of ways with other brands, like, but they're often like one-off instances. Whereas I want to kind of build it into something regular, that so we can get to know, the customers we're serving and be able to create something truly for them. So that's the plan.
Sounds like such a good plan. I mean, I remember being at Gamescom and they had also this merch department part of the whole event. I mean, come on. If you come in as a fashion expert person, anyone has to do anything with fashion and all the intricacies about pattern making and everything. And there's this plain white room with only black hoodies and black t-shirts with prints on it. And that's all there is. And there's base caps were also there, I think I remember.
Yeah. Like that and cat ears would be the...
Yeah, and then they had a stand, of course, the LED glasses and everything. That's a little part bling bling. But it's very so it's very basic everything. I think that's something we both also talked about that what we realized. So bringing this fashion experience into gaming products and merch is such a so there's such a huge need for that, such a huge gap. And also bringing from what I experienced also, and that's a question if the need is also there in the market, if the players actually want it, but good quality clothes, sustainability. I mean, if I go through those merch places and I touch the fabrics, I can tell it's like 100% polyester, and you can tell all that it's very, very low quality. And if you look at the details, that it's not made very well. But maybe the community just doesn't see the quality in these pieces and doesn't want them or need them. Or is it maybe that the producers are just not, they don't have that level of knowledge? I'm not sure, but that's something that got my head spinning for sure, where this is actually coming from.
I feel like it's a bit of both though. Yeah, because a large portion of the demographic is children, and, cute is preferable in most cases for the children and teenagers. So it's more, you just want whatever's cheapest. So you speak to a lot of, I spoke to a lot at FAX recently here in Belgium,
Yes.
Comic-Con in Ghent. And, I saw people wearing various like trinkets, and I was like, oh, where'd you get that from? Oh, AliExpress. Oh, where'd you get this? It was AliExpress.
Is the place to go.
Everyone loves AliExpress.
Yeah, but you
have a range of
it just really speaks to it, right?
Yeah. So there's that, but also when you speak to the merchandisers and I ask them, have you ever considered producing anything sustainably? They're like, huh? So all right.
I have to say at that point, that's also something I took away also from your conversation. You had also some guests also from the gaming side of the industry coming in, more in creating these virtual experiences. And it is very true. Like, people from the fashion industry know a lot about production quality, sustainability, hopefully. And then you have the gaming industry that knows how to create, powerful worlds, the tech pipelines, everything that goes into place. And when these two worlds come together, I loved also that in your conversations, it was all about learning from each other, because both have something to learn from the other world. Like, if I'm talking about going into these merch departments and just talking about the poor quality at that point, it probably the same thing. The same thoughts are evolving from gaming communities looking at my projects that I'm working on. Like, everyone has their value that they bring to the table, and exchanging these values is just so powerful by creating these synergies between and bringing these knowledges together to something even greater. I really enjoyed that thought as well, and I took that away from your conversations.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you vibed. Yeah, it was really nice to chat about that. And it is, so I learned so much from going to these spaces and these places and just finding out how the industries work. I think, like, in fashion, we're so conscious of it because fashion's just being grilled constantly, third most polluting, I don't know where it is now, but like really polluting industry. So it's copying the heat, but apparel merchandise doesn't seem to be like lumped in with those, press releases or those articles.
It's like a separate.
Yeah, even though it's most of the time real garbage. And then also you do find like a lot of merchandisers, they're getting a percentage they're getting a cut on the sale. So for them, their concern is definitely having, beautiful margins that they can, have a little slice of. And, they can do these they can just do these incredible numbers because if you're slapping the IP on there, a lot of the time you feel guaranteed a sale. So you can just shit out garbage t-shirts and call it a day. So,
Gosh.
care too much about the waste involved, you can do yourself a very nice sum.
And then comes mutiny. 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 Yeah, I'm trying to combine now the German and the right pronunciation. No, but that's really the gap that you're trying to fill, right? To bring also a new perspective into it. And yeah, I mean, it's just to sum it up, it's a partnership. I'm sure there's a lot of gamers out there that would love to have high quality merch as well. Maybe they just don't have the offer out there. So really excited to see how that's gonna unravel and how that's gonna evolve over time. So yeah, when we talk about these digital, like we're talking about these both sides, the qualities that fashion and the gaming industry bring together. I'd be interested to hear also from you how you see digital fashion enhancing the gaming. So what are we bringing into the game on this side besides the quality and maybe the sustainability and the craftsmanship? Is there another layer to this where you say, okay, this is what a real virtual outfit can bring, or accessory, how this can evolve or elevate a player's immersive experience? I'd love to hear that from you.
Yeah, I think similar to, what I said before, creating those links between the real world and the digital world, that translates into the gaming space as well and into digital fashion. So in terms of like creating skins or items, a pair of shoes for your character or a nice hat, I don't know. But if you wanted to, input that into the virtual space and it be branded and connected to a real experience, real pieces, a real event, something that draws those two worlds together, then both have increased significance. I think because the real world gives it a kind of a longer term value, longer term loyalty, because a lot of skin trade is very like transient. But the skin trade is very much about that social signaling too. So it's almost like giving people a tip into who you really are and finding that point of connection with others. So I think that's where it enhances the experience. And I do think that in general, bringing the kind of fashion in terms of open world spaces, bringing trend and bringing relevance to skins and to in-game items is really fun and really interesting. And you start to see these little like subcultures, aesthetic subcultures that brew in different open world games.
Yeah.
And that I think is really fun and really strong as well. So it's a kind of free platform to be able to really go all out aesthetically, fashion wise. It's a really nice space to test
It
similarly
is.
to cosplay who you are, and how you feel in that look, to experiment with different versions of self and to, you know, have a lot of fun connecting with others who kind of tap into the same aesthetic, the same subcultures, and form bonds and form communities around that as well. So
Yeah. Well, it taps right back into what you said in the beginning. Like bringing people closer together. Like you said, cosplayers have more stronger relationships and friendships, at the same time freeing them from the constraints of a society, world, whatever way they want to live, to be fluid through different genres and ways of living. It's just really it's really is so much deeper than what you expect when you first hear about your project. It's really very insightful to hear how deep your thoughts going into that and how insightful.
yeah, I do like to get into a little bit of reading, a little bit of research, you know. I think I was also reading some interesting studies recently about those behavioral qualities and what games, depending on the amount you play, inflect what qualities, for better or for worse, you know. So,
Yeah, it probably goes in both directions. There's two sides to the coin.
and like, how much of it do you need to play before you become neurotic, for example?
Or you gotta tell those numbers just so we're prepared.
It was like a scale of neurosis, and I was like, oh wow,
That's yours too, right? I mean,
yeah.
like everything, right? You gotta just make sure you have an eye on it. You have the right amount of time you spend in these environments. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people have this. They think like gamers are always very isolated on their own and in their rooms, and that's like the typical stereotypical thought that people have when they imagine the gaming scene and not part of it. But seeing that it actually evolves to stronger connections, stronger friendships, just shows you that how strong these digital bonds also transfer into the physical world as well. So that's really nice to hear.
You know what I also think is really interesting is that it's introducing people who are in more isolated circumstances to other people from other parts of the world, which I think is like incredible.
Boundaries.
Yeah, because, you know, when I was a child gaming and none of it was online, I wasn't talking to, you know, someone from the other side of the planet.
Right.
And you can learn so much from people in those spaces. And you do tend to find that also, for better or for worse, the anonymity provides a space to let down your guard and be a real, or more true, more false, or more asshole version for you.
Well, you feel up to, and then when you get up in the morning. Yeah. No, but seriously, you know what you just said really triggers another thought that I've been having a lot lately. So, you know, with AI and Gen AI just rolling in with this strong force these past years and months, um, you know, sources of truth. Like I'm very into Gen AI, yeah, generated images, and you know, there's a lot of the quality is just so good at this point that it's hard for a normal person to tell truth from fake when we have this whole topic in politics going on. And I feel like we as a society are coming onto this point where we're gonna have to rethink our we're gonna have like, I don't know, trust issues going on online, because you never really know, is it a machine writing you a message on LinkedIn or on Twitch? I don't know, whatever.
Mm.
Um, it's really hard to tell real from unreal right now, and I think that gaming really provides this really great link. Also, if you think of it as a global scale, of also exchanging news and hearing what's going on the other side of the world. I mean, maybe that's a bigger topic where bigger box I'm opening right now. But having these communication channels and these touch points with people that at some point maybe are real is also so powerful going into the future. And having it in this gaming environment that's a little bit, detached from politics and everything going on, I think can also be a very powerful tool for the future. Just that in mind.
Well, I think it's becoming, in a way, well, certain games are becoming a new form of social media,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and I think that's a really interesting space that it's living. Yeah, I just find that really curious, and the fact that you see now cinema or TV series based on gaming, but also you start to see beautiful live music performances of the soundtracks. So you start to see it permeate, certain games are starting to permeate culturally across many, many mediums. So it's just seeping more and more into all of our interactions in that way. So I'm really curious to see how those very social, very open spaces evolve, or did not.
New kind of spaces evolve. Maybe there's new ones coming up too that we don't have. Like before social media exists, we couldn't have imagined anything like that for anyone out there who lived before social media existed. Yeah, I'm really curious too. I remember the Ariana Grande concert she did in the metaverse was also a big milestone. It was a really cool experience. Something totally new you haven't seen before. So yeah, you see the different art fields and entertainment fields merging, collaborating, working together. It's really cool what's happening out there for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. So I'm just looking at my question marks that I wrote down for today because we had this really nice detour. I love it when couples take this side turn. But I would like to bring us right back to Mutiny again. And what I was also really interested in, so you, like we said, your project also involves not only AR and VR, but also 3D printing. So the pieces are actually 3D printed, the accessories that you create. And I would love to hear what was your biggest challenge also when you started launching or when you launched Mutiny and the collection, and how did you overcome them? Like, what was your big challenges there?
Oh my God. I mean, the whole thing is a challenge. Yeah, I'm always challenged. I'm a solo founder, so it's just like constant chaos, many hats, managing many people. So overall, very challenged. But I think in this particular circumstance, it's more the fact that I'm leaning back into the traditional fashion pipeline, not like fully because it's still on demand and it's still, I tried to keep the scope a bit lower, because I didn't really want to get too deep into the production issues.
There's a total different box when you do that.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
I even like the light version, I say light version, the fact that wasn't speculating on numbers and then producing this on demand and keeping it to, these, minimal 6 pieces and doing it with the 3D printing pipeline. Like even in that case, you still, you can't predict shit when you're doing production. And, you have, I have such a conversation with my friends who've been in production in the luxury fashion industry for years now. They're like, hey, It's like water over a duck's back for them. That's their everyday life. They're like, oh, honey, this can get so much worse. Don't worry. Like nothing ever goes as planned. It's just always putting out fires. I'm like, my God, how have you been doing it all these years, girls and guys? There was totally a moment where I was like, fucking hell, do I really want to do this by myself? And it's mainly, and I want to say it's mainly because of communication.
Big part of it.
I had like a whole month where people were ghosting me, and like I just hate being put in that position where I'm having to just call and nag and text and where are you? Like what happened? It felt bizarre to me, because I guess like when you start a company and then you aspire to be a leader and working with so many different parties, learning to be a good communicator is just essential. And then working with all these people who can't just tell me, sorry, I'm busy. I'll talk to you in a couple of days. That struggle was real. I can handle it one at a time, but when multiple people are ghosting you at once, it's rough, man.
I know.
I'm traumatized.
But the ones that pull through are the ones that pull through and make it at the end. I mean, it really is. You think that this is going to get easier at some point, but everyone I talked to said, no, this is just a normal. You get used to it. And it actually becomes less annoying because you've dealt with so much stuff during that time. You just build up this really tough skin that nothing shakes you anymore. That's like what I usually hear. But then also, I guess if you form really strong partnerships with people that you work really well with, and that's why it's worth goal if you have good partners and good collaborators on your side. You got to really cherish them.
I think this is the make or break, I think, in the fashion industry, having a really good relationship with your production partners.
Yep.
You can't do it without it, So she's learning.
Very good. And I have to also say, I mean, everyone who's in the fashion industry and working in brands, especially, also not only brands, everywhere, actually, we know it's a really hard time right now. So you're starting in a time where it's really like everyone has their topics on their plate. And it's really, I think we need to also really act with kindness and understanding towards each other. So I had like a few innovative series I was scheduling. I was really looking forward to, and we had to pull out of them, but it's totally okay. I totally get it, If life's going on, if business is tough, you need to focus on what's important first. And then these things, they come on the sideline, and that's totally fine. And I guess setting priorities and building these really strong relationships is what we really need to do, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Not feel bad about yourself or other people if you need to focus on your priorities too. We need to be very kind and understanding with each other the next upcoming months, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I know friends of mine who are running also upcoming fashion brands. It's just crazy the way it operates now. It's not the way it operated back then. There's just so much more risk involved on behalf of the upcoming brands. So much financial risk, and hearing what they have to kind of go through makes me feel a bit sick, because you're really putting your whole business on the line over and over, hoping that that people will deliver a lot of the time. So I'm very glad to have kind of stepped in and trepidatiously.
Then you took the pros of the technology with it, digital first. You don't have to produce stuff, so all these great benefits that we're bringing along the way.
Yeah, sure. I think, that's been really helpful. But also, after doing that for so long, coming back to the tangible space and dealing with the constraints of materials. It's like, oh no.
Consistencies. Where do you get the sourcing? I know. So, but this was really important that we talked about this, because to anyone listening who's maybe also a consumer, I mean, we all are at some point. The struggle for the small brands are really on right now. So if you know anyone in your field, support them, really. You need to go out there and really support them because they really need it right now. So just a little shout out reminder. I know Christmas is coming up. So yeah, be conscious about the things you get. Maybe there is a creator in your town or in your city or in your friends' circle that you can support, and they'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, there's so many talented people all over the place. And I just feel like we're always like following all these amazing people on Instagram. Yeah, it's like, it's nice if you're in the position to feel like you can support them and buy from them. I think it's really cool.
Also, very privileged position for sure.
Yeah.
Nothing we can take for granted. It's not always the case.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we can round up the session with the last question. If you guys have any questions, feel free to add them in the comments. I do have a last one too. My question for you, Shayli, is what's on the horizon for Mutiny? What do you guys have cooking up? Or are you just focusing on production right now and just getting the first launch over? Or do you have already some ideas? What people can expect coming up?
I can't reveal too much, but I've been having some great chats post Gamescom with various publishers. So pitching some new ideas to different IP holders, and it is a long road actually to, get an idea from pitch to, that contract to be able to work with them. So I'm just doing the hard slog so I can get a new partnership and launch a new collection, and scoping out new production partners. So I would love to
shut up.
But I would love to move, like doing accessories is super fun. I'd love to do more of accessories, but I would also the plan is also to take it step by step, start with accessories, do some socks, do some underwear, do some, dip my finger in a few different categories one by one, see how they all work and see how the audience responds. So that's kind of my next plan. But until then, I am, having these meetings, doing these pitches, and trying to tie up everything in a nice little bow by the end of the year so I can go back to Australia and hit the beach for a little bit.
Nice. Well, I definitely wish you the best of luck. I'll be cheering you on your way. And maybe we can have you back sometime to hear how the next year went and then after the next launch, maybe.
Yeah.
So I mean, basically what you're doing is taking it from pixel to reality again, right? With your project. And we're really excited to follow you on that journey. And thank you so much for joining us on here. I'll have a last look in the comments, but I think we're good to go. So if you guys have any more questions when you're rewatching it, feel free to add them underneath in the comments of LinkedIn as well. I'm sure one of us will get back to you guys if anything comes up. So yeah, with that said, I just want to wish you guys all a happy holiday. I got German Glühwein here. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's do you have that too in your corner?
Yeah, we got some of that at the Christmas market.
So if you're ever passing through Germany or any other corner around here, make sure you stop by for a Glühwein on the Christmas market. Wine with cinnamon cloves. It's delicious. I'm going to sit on my couch with this now, and I wish you guys happy holidays. Have a good time, and thank you so much for being with us, Shayli. It was an absolute pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Marie. And also, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the greetings.
Bye, guys. Take care.